Hello everybody. I have an important video today where I want to talk about the symbols of Christ and how the Antichrist system took those symbols away to use them against all of you. The reason I know this is because as I have been undoing the matrix system and uniting again with my twin soul through three separate major journey lifetimes, um, and time frames and past life things, and clearing all darkness, closing down all portals of darkness, reactivating the pyramids, and so on, all those symbols have come back. And recently on this channel, although YouTube took away my freedom to show you guys that, so it is on Patreon for now, because I feel like this will be able to come back hopefully eventually. I undid the medical matrix. I have undone the money matrix system. I have undone the religious matrix system. And as I'm undoing all of those matrix systems, or what we have become to know as the Antichrist system, because I recently did a video on who the Antichrist is, and the Antichrist is not one person. It is a system designed by the fallen. And multiple people have anchored into and partook in that system. So to pinpoint the Antichrist on one major individual is difficult unless you go back to Mount Shasta Part 2, where I burned Archangel Samael when I undid his contracts of control. Now, when I undid the Holy Grail, you see what that really was. That happened, and the cross was explained to what it truly was. So even the cross was a broken symbol of Christ. Okay? So I need to discuss with you, because after I undid the medical matrix recently, I undid the Sistine Chapel and the money matrix right before the presidential election. I told you who would be president, and he was. I predicted the fires, but I didn't just predict them. The work that I have been doing is why we find ourselves where we are today, no matter where that is for you, because it is a karmic play out. Okay? All karma has to be returned. All lessons of soul growth has to be completed. This is the great reset of mankind. Christ truly has returned. And I got a full information of the symbolism that has been returned home. The Merkabah was used in the Jewish symbol sector. And I'm going to explain these a little bit more because it's a lot. And there's a lot to process and to witness in the work that I've done. And there is a shadow that oftentimes brings a lot of resistance for people to see and to be willing to see and to be willing to hear the truth of God for a reason. Okay? In undoing the matrix, or what is truly the Antichrist system, all of the light of God is being called home. We can no longer be duality. And when I birthed a new earth recently, because all the work of undoing the matrix was ready for that process, during Lionsgate of 24, I birthed and created the new earth. Not knowing what I was doing, you have to understand that these come through me. I couldn't make these up if I tried. And if you're willing to look into that, you would see that. Okay? They're very real. They're very mind-blowing. They even blow my mind. And I have to process them afterwards. And I'm the one doing them. Okay? So I understand that it's not normal. And I understand there's a lot of fake people out there. I get that. There's a lot of illusions. There's a lot of veils of confusion. And there are a lot of people who downgrade and manipulate this work in order for personal gain, and it makes our hearts ache, right? So I understand that what I'm talking about is going to spark a shadow in you, and I understand that what I'm talking about seems very far-fetched, but it's not. Okay, I couldn't and I wouldn't make this up. I wouldn't want to make this up, but I couldn't if I tried. I think I would have to be genius upon genius, because not only have I been doing the work, God has had me randomly talk about like the submersible. I told you what happened to that, and then it was proven. Who the president would be, and it was true. All of these things, but it also aligns with the work that I've done. Okay. Um, so a psychic, yeah, but also the one bringing that about. All right. Now I understand everybody has a play and everything. We're all connected and all of that. I get that too. And there are star seeds and light workers that are doing their part, that are pushing past the resistance and showing up and shining their light. But unfortunately, the shadow has a very far reach, and there's been a lot of people who pick and choose what they hear and choose to not push past that resistance. Okay. Now, here's what Spirit kind of channeled through. I'm going to read this really quickly, and then I'm going to show you the symbolisms and exactly where I undid them and brought them back to the light. And in Birthing New Earth in day 6, I told everybody, but very few have watched those yet because I don't think your heart's awake enough, or maybe you're not aligned to your heart enough, because what I do is truly found within your heart space beyond the shadow. But in day 6, I tell you all light has to come home, all symbolisms have to come home. And the Merkabah was also called back from the Jewish sector. And so I'm going to go over the symbols too, but the symbols are very important because that is part of the way we used to communicate. That is part of the way of God's language. And that's why they're all over the pyramid walls. And when I was reactivating the pyramids and healing them and moving them and drawing all the light through them, we would scripture some of the walls, and I call it that for a reason. And I was using light. I would see like this language become part of the walls. So it is very important. That is part of the ways we used to communicate. Symbols are very important. And I've even been getting new ones channeled in for what you call Reiki. We have to upgrade everything into the wholeness of the one, because everything from the Antichrist world that you're coming out of was not in the holy light of one, was not in the light of Christ, was not done through God. It was taken and forsaken and divided and used against mankind as part of their taking your power. Okay, they took the power of God. This was not God saying, oh, yeah, free will, we wanted to create this. This was beings trying to take the power of God and of Adam and Eve, which then came back as Sekhmet and Horus. They took it again, the sun and the moon, which then dealt with Jesus and Mary Magdalene, and they did it again and created the Holy Grail and stole the soul of Jesus, and the Ankh was broken. Okay, so throughout history, where the Matrix stole the power and removed the twin souls' connectedness and power of togetherness, which will bring me back to the medical matrix, they stole the power of Christ in order to manipulate and control easier all of you. Okay? So the thing is when I was bringing through the return of Christ, it happened in stages, specific ones that I couldn't design. I didn't know what was happening. I was just following my heart nudges and doing the work as I was called to do it. The first ones were clearing Mount Shasta, raising Atlantis. Then it went to activating the Fiji pyramid and the portal of the gods. And then it went to healing the moon and the sun. And so it was Jesus and Mary Magdalene timeline first that I started to heal and rectify. Then from there, it went to Sekhmet and Horus. And then from there, it went to Adam and Eve. The symbols have been playing out the same way. So as I've been undoing the components of the matrix, which there was a lot of energies trying to stop me, even those that rose with me, which does hurt all of you, unfortunately, but we're okay. We're going to bypass that. They can't stop us, right? They're not going to stop us, even though they tried. They never stopped me. I made it. But the symbolism has been done the same way. So there has been a specific way those have come back as well, and I'm going to talk about that. But this is what God says. Captive forces, veils of illusions, hidden behind truths. Healing is required, and so is healing all karmic ties. I've been trying to say that for a while, is that in order to get into New Earth, you have to heal all your karma. There were a lot of spiritual beings cutting ties with those contracts and burning them, and we can't do that. And that's why in the path to righteousness, in the work that I do, I help you heal the contracts back to the present so that way you can choose, because they're cleared through your choices. You have to choose not giving your power away to the shadow. Okay? And that's a really good, easier way to understand how to clear your karma, is through all of the matrix systems. It is designed to steal your power. And if you choose through any of those temptations and systems to give your power of light to the shadow, then you create karma. And the only way to heal that is to undo all of where you give your power away to the shadow, call it all back, and choose the right way again. Only choosing love unconditional, only conveying love unconditional, and realizing how the shadow works against you. Okay? So that's part of what I've done. And I've been telling people this for a long time. But there has been a lot of resistance to that as well, and for a reason, because they can't stop the ascension. I won. We won. Love won. My DM and I, we won. But they can stop you, and they can continue to take your power. But here's the thing about that, is in day 6 of birthing the new earth, not only did I call all light back, you guys, I literally cut off the heartbeat of the fallen. So they will lose all connection to life. Okay? They cannot remain using any part of the light, and that is where they stemmed from to begin with. And so they were connected to that heartbeat, and they were disconnected. Okay? So all of the fallen, so there's 3 sectors of the ascension. Some will go, right? They have karma they have to clear still. Some will stay, and some become fallen. Those that become fallen choose complete shadow, choose to try to stop the ascension, and other things. Um, they become fallen. Like my ex DM, the DM that um, I got to walk in twin soul. The original one became a fallen. Okay, and so they are the ones who will lose existence. It's the great reset of mankind. This is true. And if you watch Birthing the New Earth, you're going to see that. If you watch all the work that I did, you're going to see that. But it's actually quite poetic, because what they did is they came in and they ripped apart Adam and Eve, stealing their power. And then every time Christ, that is who the original Christ is. It's not just a religious base. That's the light of God. And every time we would try to come back, they would rip us apart again. Okay, on different levels with the sun and the moon. And then they would manipulate the earth and creating these false systems using the symbolism and the power of the light to blind and bind you. And if you give your power to the shadow in any way, shape, or form throughout any lifetime, not just this one, so there's going to be things you can't fully see. That's why your soul path is required and co-creation is required. Then you create karma. And in order to rise into new earth, you have to finally, once and for all, soul growth out of that karma. Okay? So the shadow can attempt to blind you, and that will help to bind you. You must push past all resistance. This is not just those that rose with me. In order to rise into new earth, there will be resistance, and it comes in multiple forms, okay, in multiple ways, and I've talked about that a lot. They don't want you to rise. They don't want you calling your power back because they're nothing without you, okay? That's how they helped take down the fallen, is by getting people like you to fall prey. So with Jesus, it was John the Apostle was the main one that they got to. And then there were 4 others. And some of those were supposed to rise with me, and they didn't. So when I undid the Sistine Chapel, that wasn't supposed to just be mine to do. Okay, I didn't bring that forward to begin with. Okay, so we have to rectify what we've done in the past in order to rise to love. It's about love, and where we give our power away of the light to the shadow, because consider that. You carry the light within you. You carry a fragment of God within you. You have breath and life and light that is of the collective soul. And When the shadow is able to blind you and manipulate you and bind you, that they're taking your light. So they're able to use that light for their gain. And we can no longer be duality. So we can no longer give our power to the shadow. Okay? Either way, you can't still choose to do it and remain the way you were doing. You cannot do that. Okay? It's done. This is the great reset of mankind. So the matrix has all been undone and all the symbols have been called back. I think that's all of them. After I did the medical matrix, I was like, is that it, God? Like, oh my gosh, I can see it clearly. Like it was a full clearing of being able to see it all. And I've been getting downloads of new symbols for chakras and for what you call Reiki, which I call healing light movement. Like I really truly have. And that's why I've been doing those videos. And those will be taught in my Light Healers Academy part 2, because in order to use the light in the new earth at all, you can't be duality, and we have to bring everything back to the wholeness and through the light of Christ, of God. Okay, so we can no longer be, I don't know where my symbols went, I have a few notebooks here. We can no longer be duality. It is not an option. No matter how much they want to make you think it is, we can't be that. Okay, yeah, so here's some of them. I've been getting lots of new symbol downloads for the Return of Christ work, and I do mean lots of them. And that's why I've been doing those, what you call Reiki videos. Okay, for a reason, because they need to ascend. Everything has to be called back to the totality of the one. Okay, everything under the sun, under the moon, the wholeness of Adam and Eve, and of Sekhmet and Horus, and Jesus and Magdalene. They've all been returned together, and that's what I've been doing. Now, when I undid the medical matrix recently, there was a symbol, and that was a focus of that. And I wish I could keep that on YouTube. But YouTube banned it, and people didn't like that. I sparked a lot of shadow, but yeah, you better believe that it can't remain, okay? Well, you don't have to believe anything. You can believe whatever you want to do, but it cannot remain in the matrix anymore. You cannot use the power of God to take the power of light anymore, okay? And so all symbols have been returned home, and they did break them apart and divide them. The money matrix, they look at the dollar bill or whatever, they have like the top of the pyramid, they have the all-seeing eye in it. When I cleared Mount Shasta and returned all of Christ's consciousness back to the portal of God's, that was returned, okay? So the triangle of the eye was returned back to the portal of God's when I cleared Mount Shasta 1 and 2 and awakened the pyramids at Fiji part 1 and 2 and the God portal. Okay. Then the Ankh was returned back, so the broken Ankh became the cross when they stole the soul of Jesus. He didn't die on a cross. They didn't hang him on a cross. They burned him. And the Holy Grail was not a cup. It was a contract written in his blood to enslave the earth and all of mankind. And that's when the Ankh broke, because they ripped apart that soul level of Jesus and Mary Magdalene's soul, their twin souls. I know, because I had to process that back and realign with mine. And it was painful. It was very painful. And then back to Adam and Eve, the snake, the snakes. Okay. So in the return of Christ, it was Jesus and Mary Magdalene that I cleared. The cross was then fixed. The triangle of the eye was returned when I did Mount Shasta. Then when religion was cleared, I called back the Merkabah from the Jewish sector. Interesting, though, that Jesus was murdered at the Euphrates River. He was not Jewish. He was a mystic. But the contract was written in Hebrew. So there is a connection there. Okay. So the Merkabah was stolen and divided into the Jewish religious sector, Judaism, Christianity, Catholicism, those kinds of things. The Catholicism is the main hub of that, but all of them were parts of the matrix system. So they broke the Ankh and created the cross, and a lot of them wear it upside down. On this painting that channeled through when I did the Nile and said it's time to ascend, it's now or never. The crosses on the Bible were upside down in the imagery, and under the White House, that's what they do, is they wear these upside down crosses. The UK, it was there too. I don't want to get too far into that because freedom of speech, you know what I'm saying? But in the medical matrix, there was another symbol. The money matrix, the pentagram. The pentagram, they took all of the elements of earth to create the portals of darkness and they aligned them in the pentagram. Okay, and that was undone. I undid that as well. So all of these are being called home. When I tell you, you cannot do things outside of the light of Christ and outside of wholeness of the light anymore, that's very real. And I just got chills. You cannot be duality. And I've literally watched people. So those that rose with me that were supposed to do it, their contracts burned. Okay. Mine went from karmic to light. And my DM and I united on all three levels. Now, when I got to the Adam and Eve timeline, that was when I birthed the new earth. And on day one, I felt my DMs and my soul start to come back together on a new level. And God put our cords in the core of the earth, and the matrix was ripped like away from the new earth. There is a way of like a wall, and on the matrix side, it's like burning lava looking stuff. And on the new earth, it's all being birthed. That was day one. And then from day two, we did the planetary alignments, which is where we're at in the energy right now. And day three was the sun and the moon, and then all this Christ light DNA coming through. We're in those now, and it's going to get more until the end. Day four was like the new foods being birthed and things. And day five, um, this was the Adam and Eve timeline coming back together. And the symbols just completed through the medical matrix. So I'm going to show you that too. And I just got this download of understanding the other day when I finally undid the medical matrix. So, which is really cool. That deals with the WHO that Mr. T is undoing the connections to now and more. Okay, like it was intense what came out in that, including Alaska and some kind of satellite system and their ability to like this electrical currents and the medical matrix was huge. But on day five of birthing the new earth, I remember was the chakra system reborn. So when I was doing the Return of Christ work, I awakened a dormant chakra system. And then all of what was ours in God is being called forth to new earth. And all of the fallen cannot use it, cannot connect to it, cannot see it anymore. You cannot remain connected to God and have any power of yours given to the shadow. Okay? You cannot be duality anymore. And now all of the symbols have been called home. I think it's all of them. I'm like, what other system is there in the Matrix? I think I got them all. And I didn't realize that until the medical matrix one was done, which also makes sense for why I'm getting all the downloads for true healing, true chakra system things. So I've gotten one for the solar plexus. I've gotten one, I think, for the heart chakra now. They're coming through. And also just new what you call Reiki, I call healing light energy. It's just using light and healing energy. Because when I freed Jesus' soul, we also got our healing hands back, I call it, right? So the light and the power of our healing abilities through our hands was returned for those of us that did that. So, am I going too fast? I know it's a lot. I know it is. But you have to understand is I've been doing this work since 2019 and it's very real and we are now truly in the end. We are now truly in the end, okay? All of the symbolism has now been called home. Now, on day 6 of birthing the new earth is when all light came home. All light comes home, all light. If anybody is channeling spirit and you still has healing they have to do, they still didn't clear all their karma, they cannot hold on to the light. So God, I've discussed many times what judgment day really is because God doesn't judge. That's part of the shadow. It's a measurement of your heart and where you give your power away to the shadow. So if your heart is pretty pure, but you didn't want to learn all the lessons yet, right? You can't make it to New Earth either. In order to make it to New Earth, you have to have all karma healed, not burned, and not, there's a reason why they were doing that to people in the spiritual sector, cutting contracts, burning them, because then you couldn't see your karma to heal it. It wouldn't align to heal it as we're rising. So the shadow had a huge hold. And if you think it wasn't in spirituality, yeah, it was. I see a lot of people who use God's light for their own agenda and personal gain. And you can't do that. And you surely can't do that anymore. So, um, two snakes. Okay, so in the Adam and Eve, right? Day 6, I called back all of the light. Now, when I fully processed that alignment with my twin soul, I had a dream. And I remember in my personal group, like people couldn't see it there either. So I understand if there's any shadow in your heart, you may not see this and you might throw judgment at me, but I'm going to warn you not to do that because it is very real and that will darken your heart. Okay, so just be observant. Just put it in your pocket, okay? Save it. Like it'll be proven, I promise. You can't, I can't make this stuff up because it is very real. And as you awaken, it will awaken in your heart space. So just put it in your pocket, even if you can't see it yet. But when I was birthing the new earth, and God had brought the Adam and Eve soul fragments of mine and my DM together, I felt the two halves come together. I saw it. This was massive. It was the whole entire soul line, and the left side to the right. His is the left and mine is the right. I've talked about that. And we come back together. And Reiki is the opposite. That's what I'm telling you. They were using things outside of God's light, and it was not whole. Okay? So those old Reiki symbols are going to fall. All of the old ways of doing things have to fall. It has to be brought back to the wholeness. That's not a maybe. Okay? Crosses will burn. That was depicted many times over, and I released all these souls that were trapped when I cleared the Sistine Chapel and religion. Okay? So the Ankh was the cross was the Ankh. The cross was not of God. It was an Ankh. Masculine and feminine. You feel me? That's the masculine and feminine coming together. Being together, full power of the masculine and feminine, the sun and the moon. So on the Adam and Eve timeline, when my DM and I were rising, and it was happening during birthing the new earth, and those you can find on this channel. Most of what I talk about you can, and I'm going to show you where to find the others. I had a dream, and I was in my home, and my twin soul, the other one, the old one, not a new one, the old one that I knew before he died, was there. And my daughter was there, and my son was there. And I was literally gardening in my house, like this massive garden. It was beautiful. And I was like gardening, and I got a visual of cigarettes and like other temptations like pot and other things. And they were just popping up, and I was like starting to back up out of my garden. They were like rising in the garden. And then all of a sudden, a snake that was larger than life came out of my garden, and it started chasing me. And this snake was huge. This was my dream. And I was screaming, and it took me 3 days to process this. Like I woke up sweating, like it was a lot. It was very real. And the snake started chasing me, and it was very large, and I was scared. I started screaming. The snake was huge. It was huge. Not anything I've ever seen. You want like an anaconda times 2. Like it was very big, right? And my DM just came running upstairs. This is the old DM, and he just stared at me. He didn't do anything. He didn't try to protect me. He didn't try to stop it. He didn't do anything. Now, if you know the true story of Adam and Eve, it's not what they told you, okay? This brings me to the snakes of the medical matrix. And also, when I was calling back my power on 3 levels, I threw up 3 snakes on my journey of the return of Christ out of my solar plexus when I would upgrade and call my power back. So they're very relevant. And the medical symbol has the 2 snakes going up the pole with the 2 wings. Okay, so understand. That's the 2 snakes represented the power of Adam and Eve. And so in this dream, the snake was chasing me, and all of a sudden it stopped, and it threw up a white rat. And the white rat was alive. Like it didn't fully regurgitate the white rat. And it threw it up, and then they both just kind of chilled, and I'm like, ah, freaking out. And my DM did nothing, and I do mean nothing. And then I woke up. And I had to process all of that, and then also look up what it meant to have the white rat thrown up. And then we fully united on that level. Okay? And now I have gotten to undoing the money matrix. The money matrix, they actually use the power of the pentagon and the pentagram. The pentagon was created through the pentagram diagram, and they use all of the elements. The triangle with the eye was taken when they created the veil of illusion through Mount Shasta, and they cut off Christ consciousness, and then they stole the power of Christ consciousness. Okay, so that was also returned then. So the money matrix was the pentagram. I undid the power of the pentagram and brought all elements back to the light of God. This is who I am. Okay. The sun and the moon have been restored and realigned, and Horus rose from the Sphinx, and Sekhmet's soul fragment came back, and I cleared the crystal in the core of the earth from darkness back to light. All pyramids have been reactivated, and crystals returned the crystalline grid back to light. The flower of life was returned back to the crystalline grid, along with my DM's DNA and mine and light. Okay, and so with the medical matrix, this one I just did the other day, and I can only put it on Patreon right now or in the Path to Righteousness. The Path to Righteousness is everything that I did in the Return of Christ. It's how to heal everything through you. Like, that is an actual honor and a blessing to have that. But there's a lot of resistance for that. You have to be able to push past that resistance because it does heal everything for you. So those are the places you'll find everything in. The medical matrix is only in Patreon because YouTube blocked it immediately. It really did invoke people's shadow. Oh my gosh, I felt it. But of course it did, because the two snakes represented in the symbol of the medical matrix, the tall, and this is what I undid. Part of what happened when I undid the medical matrix the other day, Sunday, I did it live. YouTube tried to steal my video and everything. Like, I had to steal it back. Like, seriously. But that pole with the two snakes coming up and the two wings, it broke in half, and the two snakes went back to where they came from, Adam and Eve. So there's no coincidence that those symbols came in the order that they did, returned back to the light, and that it was Jesus and Mary Magdalene first, then Sekhmet and Horus, and then Adam and Eve that were rectified, brought back to the wholeness of our soul level, and all of the symbols called back home. So they took the power of light through the elements, and they used those in the pentagram. I fixed those recently, undid those, and closed down all portals of darkness. Undid the pentagram and the pentagon, and effectively and essentially undid the money matrix. Undid the religious sector through the Sistine Chapel and another guided healing to help undo the religious matrix through you. And Jesus was rectified, and I undid the Holy Grail, which healed the Ankh back together. Okay? And our souls returned at that level. Okay? Sekhmet and Horus was the sun and the moon. Day 3 of birthing new earth was also relevant in that, and I cleared all the darkness in the moon. Now, when I did the moon, satellites were involved and fell, and then when I did the medical matrix, satellites were also involved and burst into flames and fell. So they were using all of the power of true Christ and of God to blind you and bind you. And the matrix is the system of the Antichrist. And the only way to heal all of your karma is to call back all of your power through choices hidden in disguise from the matrix components. You have to be pure sovereign of light and not giving your power away to the shadow any way, shape, or form. Those that do that and have a pure heart are the ones rising now. Okay? Because new earth is now. God bypassed some time. So the two snakes in the medical matrix symbol that I just undid and called home were Adam and Eve, the power of Adam and Eve, and the angels of false protections. And that's why they had the symbol like that. I don't care what they told you. This is truth. This is what has processed through. This is what I undid and what God showed me. And what I fully came to an awakening. Now, in the end of the medical matrix, that symbol, like, undid in our conscious awareness. But you guys, if you don't heal your shadow and your karma, you won't see this clearly and you won't rise. Okay? And to think that seeing is enough, it's not. You have to actually not give your power away. You cannot be duality. Okay? You can't be. You can't be. So, the two snakes in the medical matrix symbol, the F, those things I can't mention. It The symbol broke when I undid the medical matrix on Sunday, and you can find that in Patreon. I'll show you in the end of this where to find these videos that I'm talking about. I talked about who the Antichrist was. It is the actual matrix system and those that give their power away to it. Fear is an illusion they use very often, okay, and anchored deeply into all systems of the matrix. And they would use all systems, all symbols, all knowledge base of the power of Christ. They ripped apart Adam and Eve, who came back as Sekhmet and Horus, ripped them apart again, who came back as Jesus and Mary Magdalene, and ripped them apart again. Okay, how do I know that? Because those are all the soul fragments and layers I united again with my DM with that came back as I was undoing those. You guys, this is very real. And these symbols, the symbolism, it's so clear to me now, where before I healed all this, I didn't pay much attention. Like, I didn't realize that. However, they would stick out sometimes, like I've never owned a cross. I never felt good about a cross. Now I know why. Never in my life. My dad had them all over his house, but I never associated with the cross. Wasn't religious, but I wasn't spiritual either, right? I was just a mom and a psychologist. So the symbolism that I have now awakened to and called home all of, undoing the matrix components. So the matrix was designed with certain sectors, and each sector used the power, the knowledge base symbolism of God. And it divided it and broke it up to help anger you in, control you, and blind you, and created a false reality that was the Antichrist system. And all of those have been called home. And so now that the medical matrix is done, your soul's going to be called home. It is being called home. And if your karma is not healed and there's shadow you're giving your power away to in any way, shape, or form through any of the systems of the matrix, you won't make it through those portals. Okay, that's why the path to righteousness was a blessing. Now I see it. And it was mocked, unfortunately. And I'm so proud. So undoing the medical matrix, I'm going to show you where to find that. It can be found in Patreon. It doesn't matter what tier you join except the free one. It won't be found in the free one. But if you join either of the paid tiers in Patreon, you will find the medical matrix. Unless they give us our freedom of speech back and I can re-upload it to YouTube. I don't know how long that'll take. But for now, it was a couple hour long one, and a lot came through in that one that I can't mention. But the symbolism of the medical, the pole with the two snakes and the wings, broke and was returned home. And God showed me during my awakening in these last few days since I did that, I've had a further awakening, that was the representative of the power of Adam and Eve, and the wings were angels of false protections, making you think in your heart space that you are protected and in safe hands and with people who could truly heal you, but they couldn't. Okay, I am a true healer. I do multiple healings that blow our minds every day. I heal the whole totality of the mind, body, and soul. So there's no limit to what I can do. And it makes sense now. It makes full sense to me now why I see and do the things that I do, and how what I do actually goes against the system that I just undid. It fully makes sense to me now. So you can find the medical matrix only in Patreon or the path to righteousness. The path to righteousness is the entire return of Christ work. It is everything you need to heal, to align with your karma. You just have to choose love the whole way, but I do the rest for you, including awakening you, including healing all your calling all your karma forward. It has all your system upgrades. It's everything. It's all the work that I did. Okay, that's this one. All right. So that is the other place you can find the medical matrix in. But that's if you want to awaken, learn to call all your power back, heal all of the shadows of the moon from your system. I teach you how to call your power back and help you do it. And you'll use that throughout the whole thing. Getting through the matrix, undoing the matrix, releasing trauma. Like, you guys, this is so layered. This was a blessing and an honor. Karmic contract alignment. See, It's very real, okay? What spirituality wasn't always in the agenda of the light. Okay, a lot of people were not. So the hidden shadow elimination, not all of them, there are good people in each sector. Okay, but there were a lot of shadow. Being able to even accept the light codes and the ascension activations, Mount Shasta 1 and 2, but also Fiji 1 and 2. 2 cannot be found on YouTube. And then each layer of healing, I take you to release those past life fragments. It's a big deal, okay? But that is also where you will find the medical matrix. It has so much. It takes a while to do it all, but you can do it as quickly as you can. The false concept of time and elimination, you get all the portal activations. You will make it through all the portals. Um, but you have to be able to choose love the whole way. The Atlantis and Lemurian portal cleansing and healing, like it's all here. There's a lot here that's not on YouTube. Medical matrix removal, and then removal of the matrix virus wall. Okay, those are why you will see plagues rise, because Christ's light is going to draw everything of the shadow out into the light. And some people will get really sick, and that's why they said that plagues are a mark of the return of Christ. Garden of Eden, Christ integration, and then I brought down all the rays, all Christ light through the angel rays, and that played out recently too. So what I do is very vast, it's very real, it's a lot of healing required, okay? So it does take a lot of healing. It really does, undoing the money matrix. So you will find them all in the path to righteousness. But you can find the medical matrix, which it's a healing. So to heal out of that one, it went through the spinal fluid in the spinal column, which I'm not sure you will find that anywhere at this time other than there. Because what I do it to the earth and then it processes through in due time. So this is the Return of Christ playlist. And in this, you will find a majority of witnessing these, not healing through them usually, but you can witness most of it. Including getting a walk-in DM, the anointing of the blood of Christ, undoing the Holy Grail, masculine pyramid activations. The pyramids were up, the feminine ones were first. These are the masculine ones. So the cross. This is the return of Christ. It was not done. The cross. So there's a reason why that was one of the symbols right here. The truth about the Ankh, the true cross. It came home. Okay. All of the symbols of Christ that were divided. Like I said, the matrix was the triangle with the eye was at Mount Shasta. That was returned back to the Christ consciousness. Oh, the evil eye, they took the eye from the triangle with the eye and they used that also to see into things they shouldn't be able to see into. So you see, the shadow was using all the power of the light. The eye of Horus and the eye of Ra, me and my DM. Eye of Horus is on the left, eye of Ra should be on the right. Okay, Reiki was backwards. So all things that were done in the matrix were upside down and backwards, and everything has to be healed back to the light. Okay, earth recalibration, northeast, south, and the west. My new DM took on the soul fragment of Jesus and Horus when he rose from the Sphinx. That's in here too. Snakes became a part of the whole entire journey, all the way now back to Adam and Eve and undoing the medical matrix. Okay, Horus returning, the Nile, the eclipse, I spoke through the sun and the moon. It's all here. Here's the religious one, okay? The cross burned and the Ankh became whole again. And that completed when I undid the Sistine Chapel. And then God said, time is up, enough. He had a very strong message in this one and took us into the portals. Then I began implementing the portals and birthing New Earth. And this is where I'm talking about on day 6. See, not very many people have been willing to see past the shadow yet. But this will be in your heart space of a pure heart. Day 6, birthing life, calling back all light, return of crystal, and flame of Adam and Eve. Calling back all light. You guys, this one's very interesting because in this one I call back all light. That's what I've done with the symbols recently. Okay, so I removed them from the power of the matrix and brought them back home. And nobody, I repeat, nobody can carry shadow home. You cannot. Okay, and then in day 7, birthing new earth, it was the trumpets trumpeting, and 3 major events will occur in the matrix side. And I think you've had one now. I'm pretty sure just one. I don't know yet. They weren't specific. They won't be because it's not about fear. It's just the truth is here. Day 8, death rebirth cycle, the end and all heart reviews applied. Okay, only some will stay. Those are the ones that make it to New Earth. Some will go, and some will never know life this way. So this one I called all the heart, like I cut the fallen off of the heartbeat of God. They lost the heartbeat. So the fallen become like this mass of nothingness. And it doesn't the Bible say something about even the shadow, even the darkness will suffer in the end? They have to have a karmic kickback for everything that was done. That's why you don't want to have karma. Because where you anchor into the shadow, you'll have to play that karma. So the portal of the angels was created. We will walk amongst them. Undoing the money matrix was right here. That was the pentagram. That was the beginning of that. And then this one was undoing all power of the pentagram. Okay, I called back all the elements back from darkness to the light. And the Sistine Chapel, I released all of the angels that were trapped there. They were the cherub angels. And again, the Ankh was made whole. So it's all here. And now I've done the religious one. The lotus flower, this one, God laid me in the center, and like all this Christ light came through and called it the crest of Christ or the crest of God, and that's who Christ is. You guys, it's all here. Okay, so all the symbolism has been brought back home. Snakes again, all right? So the snake is used as a power depletion. It is used for spell casting. It is used for purposes to take power away. And when I called all my power back, I kept throwing up snakes from my solar plexus. That happened 3 or 4 times. And with the medical matrix, God said that the snakes that were represented in the symbolism they used was the power of Adam and Eve. We are true healers, okay, master healers. You're talking healing things that doctors couldn't see, and I've had experiences of that many times. Um, I see the inside of your body and the totality of what it is and what creates it, down to the cellular level, the genetic blueprint, everything. I see it, so it makes sense to me now. Snakes, it's all there. So when I tell you the symbolism has now all been returned and you cannot be duality, it's true. I'm so proud. And you can only see as far as the shadow takes you. So if you're wondering why you can't see it, it's because the shadow is blinding you. You have to heal. God said when the Nile was implemented, the word to the wise, if you can't see everything, and I do mean everything, there was work to do. Okay, because the karma and the shadow, where you give your light away to the shadow, you are blinded now to the light. And it will either get bigger or you will become more into the light. Depends on what you choose. The healing you are doing, you have to heal it. You can't just allow it to happen to you. That doesn't work that way. It has to happen through you, through healing and through your choices and actions and soul growth and calling all your power back from that shadow and all matrix components. So just like the symbols and the elements and all of the things they took from God, they have now been all called home. Darkness cannot remain here and it cannot come back. It can only leave. So much love to you all. Choose love. Hopefully I'll see you on the other side.